That's my video camera at home.
Oh.
I pointed at the dog so when I'm on the road I can say, "Stop chewing on the couch."
Oh, there you go.
Stop eating.
Stop eating.
I think we're going live.
Hey!
We're live.
We're live!
But on a different thing.
On a different thing. So, where do I go?
You just go back to my channel.
Blue Mountain Bigfoot?
Uh-huh.
Alright, look at that. And here we go. Look, we are live.
Yay!
Finally, maybe. I got the circle of waiting on my computer.
At least it's not the circle of death.
There we are.
Okay.
And there's a delay.
Turn that down. There we go. Okay. Can I still hear you?
I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. We're good. We're live. Everybody's up.
Yay!
All right, but we've got nobody watching right now yet. So,
That's okay.
you need to keep your chat line. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, here we are.
It says two watching.
Here we are. Okay. And we probably have some significant lag. I'll bet Christy's one of those. And
Yeah.
Swatching with Ham is one of those.
Yeah. What?
So we're all watching each other.
Yeah.
That's right.
We're. It doesn't say who's on, though, does it? Unless they chat.
Nope.
Okay.
I'm not logged in, so I don't think I'm one of the watchers because I went straight to Skype.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
All right. So, anyway, what we could do is while we're waiting for people to come on, you and I can chat, or we can chat. Talk about upcoming stuff. You have Montana, right? You're in Montana.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have any reports off the top of my head.
It's snowing like crazy here. I was kind of excited. I was hoping to find footprints in the snow.
There you go.
Oh, you have a Doberman.
No, she's a Rottweiler.
Oh, she looks like a Dobie. I have a Doberman at home.
Well, she looks more Dobie because she's got an underbite, and so her face looks really narrow. Say
Oh.
hi, Bodie.
Yeah.
Hi, Bodie.
But she, and she's young. She's only a year old, so.
Oh, she'll get big and have the big head.
Yeah.
Well, now that she knows she's getting attention, she's not going to leave the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah. My dog does that
when
once.
her to go viral for us.
Yeah.
There she goes.
Okay. No, I was trying to think. I've got family in Montana, but they're in Kalispell.
I'm in Missoula.
Missoula. Oh, that's close to the Idaho border, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah.
You're watching me have my wrestling match with the dog. She's 105 pounds.
You think she's a Chihuahua? I bet too.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah. Belongs in your front pocket
Yeah.
all the time.
Whoa, what was that? Okay.
Oh, that was my every time my email comes in, it dings. I don't kind of know how to turn it off.
Oh, okay.
Let me see if I can make it be quiet.
I
So
don't know.
maybe it's quiet now.
Okay. Oh, that's all right.
Well, you know what we could talk about while we're waiting? Oh, it says now there are three
Three
watching.
watching.
Hello,
Yay.
whoever just logged
Hello,
in.
everybody.
We've had quite the time getting this live stream going tonight. But anyway, go ahead and put something in the comments so we know who you are. And I'll even try to respond.
All right, but I'm glad my fancy program finally worked.
What did you do differently?
Well, I couldn't. The live stream that we set up to do, it wouldn't for some reason log into it.
Oh, That's just really...
So I had to start a whole new one. So the one that we've hiked for isn't the one that we're actually talking on.
Yeah.
But hopefully they'll figure it out. If they just go to my channel, they'll find the one that's live anyway. So
yeah. So Christy, we were
there it is.
There it is. Yeah, go get off that little event thingy from YouTube and just go to Blue Mountain Bigfoot Research on YouTube, and we'll be right there.
Yeah.
Or just like in a different chat room.
Okay, I'm trying to see how long the delay is. It is a bit.
It's about 5
seconds.
Should
I go to the Blue Mountain thing?
Yeah, and I just put it back. Okay.
You know, Christy, I don't know what your last week of March looks like, but that's our spring break here, and we are hoping, really super hoping, to go down to Detroit Lake that week.
Or that area.
Check it right now, and I'll make sure and request it off. I camped that area like crazy.
Yeah.
That's all the stuff happens.
Yeah,
I know. That's where we had that report, and you went down there, right? And you said it's close to some place called Skookum Meadows and a bunch of other stuff, right?
Yes. So what'd you say? You said the last week of March?
The last week of March, the 20...
I don't know. I don't have my calendar in front of me. It's the last week of March. We get off. I get off of school on. I can't see. It's
the 22nd. That Friday we're off, but we can travel.
Yeah, we'll travel that weekend. I have family in Grants Pass, so we're gonna pop in on them and then go down to Detroit Lake or wherever it is.
Yeah, like on the 24th through. Like
okay, so I'm totally off. I don't work until the 27th.
Oh.
Okay.
So I'm going to write that down. I'm going to make sure they don't schedule me anything because they schedule months out in advance for their work.
Okay.
So I'm going to take March, and I can set up ahead of time. And I got the travel trailer. You guys have tents, right?
Oh.
We have a pop-up camper.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
And it has a bathroom in it. Surprise.
That is surprising.
Yeah.
All right, Detroit Lake.
Mm-hmm.
So do you want to be wilderness or do you want to be in a campground?
Well, I know what I would prefer. Look at me. Do I look like a wilderness person?
Yeah. Yeah, we differ on that opinion a lot, actually. I just got back from hammock camping for a weekend up in the snow, so.
That's fantastic. Well, Hannah, your rig looks like super outdoorsy.
Well, that's his rig. My rig is a turquoise blue bicycle from Walmart.
Oh, well, there you go. Because I was going to say we could either be in the Detroit Lake area or we could even go, there's so many places around there that's just, it's wilderness.
Right.
Well, you know, we could set up camp in the campground and you and Christy could go into the wilderness and I can stay in the pop-up trailer working probably on my research project anyway.
Yeah.
That's so funny. You know, I had a hybrid trailer, and when I had that incident with the two critters that came through and were throwing rocks and stomping and stuff, I traded it as quickly as I could for a hard-sided trailer.
Okay.
We are hoping. I mean, we got into our little Annie trailer because a friend was selling it, and we happened to have cash on hand at the time. It's like, okay, yeah, we'll do it. And we wanted something that wasn't sleeping on the ground.
Well, they're awesome. I mean,
they're great. It's a great little camper. But we want to go a little. We want to upgrade. Hopefully soon.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot of work putting those things up. My gosh, it takes half an hour just to get.
Does it really?
What?
Does it really?
Yeah. And it's all manual. Nothing is automatic. It's all hand crank and.
You know, it's a pop-up tent camper, so you got to raise it and then pop the pop-outs out and then set them up. So it's like half tent, half trailer.
Yeah. When I just pushed a button and everything went.
Oh,
and then beds out. It had two gigantic queen beds, but I didn't feel safe because I camp alone a lot. Having fabric between me and something, maybe trying to get my dog.
Yeah.
Hey, we just had someone else log on. Welcome to our live chat. We honestly don't know what we're going to chat about tonight, so go ahead and put something in the chat feed so we know who you are and we can talk back to you.
Ask questions.
Ask questions. Say, what the heck are you guys doing up there? And we'll probably try to make up an answer.
Yeah.
Well.
Okay. I'm going to try. Let's see.
Any questions?
Not yet. I'll let you know.
Nobody's popped up on the question board yet.
Hello, people. My name's Christy. I'll say that.
Yeah. Just introduce us. Go.
Introduce us.
Yes, this is about who Blue Mountain Bigfoot Research is.
Okay, it is. It's about Blue Mountain Bigfoot Research. I'm Scott Villette. I'm the one who started it probably about 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm. You started the Facebook page 2 years ago, just kind of on a I'm bored today win.
Yes, it was.
Tell them that.
Well, yeah, I actually started a Facebook page to hopefully get reports. I just wanted to get some local reports. Maybe somebody look at me and say, hey, that guy believes in Bigfoot, and I'll talk to him, you know. So I started that, and then the next thing I know, the local newspaper came down, wanted to do an interview with me. And
hang on before you continue. Hi, John Paul. It's really nice to see you tonight. We actually do have an adventure planned. We're gonna be working our way towards Detroit Lake, Oregon, the last week of March. So that's our next big outing. So anyway, thanks for asking.
Okay. Yeah. Hi, John. Okay.
Anyway, you started your Facebook page.
I started my Facebook page. The local newspaper guy who I didn't know was a big Bigfoot enthusiast, the editor of the newspaper, sees it online. He comes by, wants to do an interview with me. He does an interview, and it ends up on the front page of our local newspaper. You know, a town of like 10,000. I thought, okay, maybe somebody will, send me a letter that they saw Bigfoot or something. Which happened, by the way. It happened like the next day. But
wow.
But then it got picked up by the AP Newswire for no reason whatsoever. I don't know why. And it was in every major newspaper in the United States. And the next day, my website crashed with so many people on it. So,
wow.
And then it just kind of blew up from there. And that was like 2 years ago.
Wow.
So, little background.
Yeah, we've got 2 more, so...
Okay, a little more background on me. I grew up looking for Bigfoot. I fell in love with this when I saw the Patterson film in 1967 as a newsreel before a movie I went to see back in the days when they did newsreels before the movies and in the theaters. And I was off and on research until... I got, how old was I when I went back to college?
45?
45, yeah.
About 10 years ago?
Yeah, about 10 years ago. I went back to college, got my degree in anthropology. My expertise is in Native American culture. And I started researching Native American cultural legends on Bigfoot and kind of blew up from there. When I found out that every culture in the nation has a Bigfoot legend. Every Native American tribe does. And I've worked with several in California. So that's where I got into this. And then I found in my life I found 3 sets of verifiable castable footprints that I can definitely say those are Squatch. I've found some others that I'm like, maybe. And what else have I found? Oh, and then last year, for the first time after 20 years in the woods looking, I got a picture of one last year and actually had an up-close encounter.
Eyeball to eyeball.
Eyeball to eyeball.
That's so cool.
So that's it. That's me. This is my wife, Hannah, who got drug into this by marrying me. And
this is the payback for having to schlep my piano all over the place.
That's right. She's a piano teacher and a music teacher at our local high school. She's the choir director. And when I married her, I didn't think about, I thought, oh, so cool, she plays the piano. But every time we move, there's this big grand piano we have to take apart and all out. So, funny story. We got married, and I asked her if she liked outdoors because I live outdoors. And so she She said, "Oh yeah, oh yeah." So I planned the honeymoon.
Well, no, what he asked me was, "Do you like hiking and camping?" And I said, "I love hiking and camping." Not understanding that my idea of hiking and camping was like, inner city summer camp where you're in cabins and you take a walk around the blacktop
trail.
A trail at the summer camp. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we had a little bit of a miscommunication there.
I'll say. So
when we got married, I planned the honeymoon. And it wasn't very far. It was like a 4-mile hike into this high mountain lake, and in a tent with backpacks on for a week. Yeah, it was different for her.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
A little bit of a shock, I bet.
Yeah.
Well, and then he took me on the Elkhorn Crest Trail.
Yes.
That's not all there.
Yeah, it's what is it, 9,000 feet? Yeah, something like that.
9,000 feet up.
Yeah, and we were on that trail, and there's a part where it was like almost straight down, and this tree was growing out of the side of the hill, and the trail kind of caved in a little bit on a slide, so you had to like grab the tree and then swing from one part of the trail to the other part of the trail. It wasn't very far.
I have absolutely no memory of this. None. It's like I'm totally blacked out.
So I do the swing, and I land on the other side, and I turn around and wait for her, and she grabs the tree, swings halfway out, is hanging over space, hanging from the tree, and freezes solid. I can't go anymore. And we were roped together at the time. And I'm like, if she falls, she's taking me with her. No. So I'm like, either you finish coming over here or I'm cutting you loose.
I'm serious. I have no memory. I don't know how I got from one side to the other. It's gone. It's completely gone.
I actually had to pull her across, but it was funny. Anyway.
And then I sprained my ankle.
Yes.
Before we got down. And just let me tell you, there was no loving that night.
Yeah, we're on a honeymoon. Okay, so.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah. All right, and this is Christy up here in the corner.
Hi.
Okay.
I want to say hi to Eastern Oregon Sasquatch Association. I think it's our friend over in Ontario.
Ontario, right? Yes.
And you asked if we could do an outing together up on the Imnaha River this coming summer.
Oh.
Where's the Imnaha?
It's up by Elgin.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I think we're setting aside July to do as much getting out of town into Squatch country as we possibly can. So keep in touch on that.
Okay.
That's fun.
Yeah. All right. So now let's see if I get my hands right. No, this way. Okay, that's Christy over there. All right. So this is Christy Sanders from what? Did I get it right? Yeah.
Yes.
I'm really bad with names. I am totally bad. I don't even remember mine half the time.
Christy, John Paul says hello, by the way.
Oh yeah.
John Paul.
Okay. So she got a hold of us, I don't know, about a year ago almost, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been almost a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's been more than a year because it was right after I had the encounter up Detroit Lake.
Yeah.
It was during the forest fire season, and I was trying to find somebody to report it to, and then I was trying to find somebody to hang out with, because once you have an experience that you know beyond a shadow of a doubt what it is, you want other people to be with you.
Absolutely. So anyway, so what got you into squatching, Christy?
Really? Well, I travel for work. I work for a business consulting firm, so I get sent all over the U.S. and Canada. And I was up in Maine, and I was bored, and I was channel surfing. So I'm watching the History Channel, and this really bizarre program comes on called Monster Quest, I think.
Yes.
I remember that.
And I'm watching that, and they're like, Portland, Oregon, Bigfoot. I'm like, what's a Bigfoot? And I'm just drawn in. And I realize I know all those places. And then they're talking about Sasquatch sign. And since I was raised in the Pacific Northwest, I've been raised hunting and fishing and camping. And I realized as a child, I'd seen the things they were talking about. So I'm locked and loaded on this show. And then I call home and I tell my then husband, dude, there's this thing called a Bigfoot. And he says, oh, yeah, I know. I saw one as a kid. I'm like, get out of here. No. He's like, that's why I don't tell people. And he got really quiet. And I'm like, no, seriously, just tell me all about it, please. So he told me. And then I was hooked. I had to watch every episode. And then I went to the BFRO website. And after being on the BFRO website, I tracked on the map all the points around Portland that had recent sightings. So then I went, when I got back into Portland, I grabbed my friend. It was January. And I said, and she had a 2-wheel drive car. I said, let's go to Mount St. Helens. We're going to campground hunt. I didn't tell her what we were doing. And she said, okay. And I had drawn a circle on a map and randomly dropped a pin in the center of the sightings, right, in the footprints. So we go up there in a 2-wheel drive car, and we get kind of stuck. And there in the middle of the road is gigantic footprints in the snow leading down the road and into a snowy marsh.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh my God, nobody knows who I am. I'm a nobody. This is not a hoax. Nobody knew that Christy Sanders was going to randomly go to this point at this time. And then, of course, we hear an elk, and we all screech and scream because we're like really excited. And it was just an elk, but it's pretty funny. And the kids were like, is that a Bigfoot? We're like, nope, that's an elk. But it was a life changer for me. Wow. So then I just started looking, and I realized if you look, you will find. If you don't look, you're not going to find.
Well, that's about normal for anything. I am really curious.
I just lost you for a second. I got you back. Okay.
Okay, cool.
You mentioned that once you've had an encounter, you don't want to be out there alone.
Well,
I don't.
The reason I have to put that in context.
Okay.
So because I camp alone,
yes,
and I have dogs,
yes,
I have read that they're aggressive to animals, to dogs.
Mm-hmm.
oh.
I didn't want anything to happen to my dogs. And at the time, my dog was a puppy, and the last thing I needed was something to eat my puppy.
That's
And
true.
and it would have, and if it occurred, it would have been because of my irresponsibility on it. But because I camp alone, I take my dog.
So you weren't concerned about a Bigfoot attacking you per se.
No, just the dog. And because the dog's alerted, and they rushed the window, and they took a big whiff of whatever was out there, and then they crawled under the blankets. And I'm like, what is wrong with you guys? And then I tried to force them outside to go to the bathroom. And the next day when I saw the footprints and I realized what had happened, I'm like, bad idea. Don't force the dogs outside.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's why I got a hard trailer, because if they were going to come to the dog and it was hard to get to the dog, it would be okay. Mm-hmm. Now, I will honestly say that in all the stories I've heard about them not liking dogs, I would say that 97% they're fine. Mm-hmm. But that's the 3% horror stories I've read really, as a pet owner, makes me feel very responsible. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah. I'm thinking because the dogs don't seem, all the stories I've heard are just like that, dogs just they're not going to go for it at all.
No.
So,
no, they laid flat on their bellies and they're just quivering in fear. And our Doberman is really he's a badass.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He was not a badass that day. And our Shepherd is not really a badass, so she just kind of was like, ah.
Yeah.
But that was pretty cool. That was the forest fire year. So the gorge was on fire, so I believe they were driven into the area that I was in. Because we found 2 sizes of footprints. And the coolest part about the entire thing that happened that year, I have a very close friend that is like a father figure to me. And he absolutely didn't believe in Bigfoot at all. And he just thought it was a bunch of crap and that everybody's a hoaxer and that they're full of it and they're all misinformed. And guess who found the footprints?
That's what he gets.
Yeah.
He found them and he tracked them because we go hunting every year. He's an expert tracker. He tracked them all the way up on a ridge. And all day that day we found gigantic footprints, like on the sides of hills that were like this. Tons of tracks. And I think it was because of the forest fire had driven them down. But I got some good pictures of that. I didn't know anything about casting. They would have been castable. They had left some prints. One of the most impressive prints was 14 inches long, and it was in solid rock, and it was embedded that deep.
Wow.
And I remember hearing the crash, so we think it jumped off the ridge, landed in the rocks, grabbed a tree. The tree limb broke. It was quite the adventure. 3 days. 3 days.
3 days.
Well,
Yeah.
for those who've just gotten on, I wanted to introduce you to our photo bomb or our video bomber here.
Yeah.
This is Boudica. We named her after the ancient Celtic queen who nearly destroyed Rome.
Yeah.
Her full name is Boudica, Destroyer of Worlds,
Yeah.
because she destroys everything.
Mm-hmm.
And she's not going to be content to leave us alone. So this is Boudica, and when you follow us, you'll just be seeing an awful lot of her.
Yeah.
Because she won't not be seen.
Of course.
She's a total goofball.
Yeah. And she likes holding hands with her mouth. I don't know why. She'll sit there for hours and just
hold your hand.
Hold your hand.
That's super cute.
So.
I guess that's better than standing on your face. My dog's
Yeah, true.
That's what the cat does.
Yeah. So. Anywho.
Anyway, that's what Blue Mountain Bigfoot research is about.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, what Christy does is, if we get reports in, you're probably going to hear from her.
Yep.
Yeah.
She is our on the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, I try to be pretty quick. Sometimes my flight schedules and work and stuff,
Yeah.
I'm not as quick as I'd like to be.
Oh,
but I try to
right.
get back within 24 to 36 hours.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
Yes, John, she is a relentless Roddy. That's absolutely true.
Yeah. So, yeah, and plus, she takes care of all the investigations over there on the west side of the state.
Mm-hmm.
Because, it's 500 miles across this state.
Yeah.
And we live pretty much on the Idaho border, really close.
Yeah.
Well, our friends from Eastern Oregon Sasquatch Association,
They're a little closer.
they're a little closer to the border, like on it, because they're in Ontario, which is the Snake River runs through Ontario, and that's the division.
We can't figure out actually why they're Oregonians.
Yeah.
They really should be in Idaho.
Yeah. True.
But so what's I was reading a comment on our page message to us, and I think we probably want to share with people what our thoughts on the ethics of Bigfooting, what our ethics are.
Ethics.
Because some people get really upset. There's maybe I'm not supposed to talk about this. I don't know. I don't have any PC political correct anything. I'm just clueless. But there are the kill and the no kill, and some people are concerned that we go out and we're armed, and you might want to explain why we stay armed, and what your strategy is.
What my strategy is?
Yeah, because you're not generally let's go out and kill Bigfoot guy.
No, I'm not. I tell you what, my major goal is to, just like most Bigfooters, is to come up with that conclusive proof that they exist, that the mainstream academia can grab onto and say, okay, now we believe, or we know. I don't like the word believe either, but we know that they exist. So the hunt's been on for a very long time. Like major hunters around the 1960s, 50s, early 50s is when Jerry Crew, or late 50s when Jerry Crew found that footprint down in California, and the phrase, the name Bigfoot was coined then, and then hunters kind of came along. You've got like the original hunters, Bob Gimlin and Roger Patterson and John Green and Grover Krantz. Who else? I'm missing somebody. Anyway, Renee Hendon.
Eric Shipton.
Yeah, Eric Shipton. There's another one. I'm trying to think of all the original horsemen of the apocalypse, the Bigfoot hunting. Yeah. So, and a lot of those guys are just, within the last few years, they're starting to, die off, actually. John Green just died last year, so did, who was the biologist in Canada? No, the biologist in Canada. Oh, gosh, I know his name. Anyway.
Green?
What?
No, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he was a biologist. Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to, watch a documentary with him.
Anyway.
Anyway, he thanks, dear. Anyway, these guys didn't see this realized in their lifetime, and I'm kind of wanting to realize this in my lifetime. So I've been looking at what has been done over these last 40, 50, 60 years, and the techniques and stuff that's been used. And we get a lot of eyewitness reports. You get a lot of people with footprints and things like that, but none of that is making the grade for mainstream academia. And having worked in mainstream academia myself as an anthropologist, we spent a couple summers I spent a couple summers working with a university down in Chaco Canyon, New Mexico, digging up Aztec stuff. And by the way, the Aztecs are in New Mexico, in case you didn't know. Anyway, so I have a lot of experience in archaeology and anthropology and gathering evidence that we can document properly. The problem is we have a lot of amateurs out there, which are good. We have a lot of boots in the field, but in order for mainstream academia to accept what you give them, you have to show how you properly gathered it.
The scientific method has to be evident.
It has to be evident in it, and plus, they're not going to accept anything that can possibly be hoaxed, like big footprints, videos, pictures. So what is accepted for other species isn't accepted for Bigfoot because
we don't have a baseline for existence yet.
The hoaxing. Now what Melba Ketchum is doing with her DNA studies, they have that one DNA that she says it's Bigfoot, but we got nothing to compare it with, so she can't say that's Bigfoot. She has unknown DNA. What?
I just saw Josh Gates on Travel Channel. He just did something with her, and she was like unknown primate. It was awesome. I was like, there it is.
There it is. I know, but nobody's going to take her serious because they don't have a type specimen to match it with and say, okay, there it is. So, what I'm thinking of doing is gathering DNA. I don't ever plan to kill one of these creatures unless it's in self-defense. But I am...
They don't like adult humans.
Yeah. But I have a lot of theories. Like I said, I've been doing this for 20 years or longer. But actually kind of professionally for 20 years. I'm thinking of different ways. It's things that haven't been done. I mean, going out knocking on trees at night, you can get responses, but that doesn't prove anything. If I can get DNA from an animal that I have a picture of me gathering the DNA from, I can prove it. I have a couple biologist friends that work for the Forest Service here, and they gather DNA and blood samples from deer and elk all the time, just to do studies and check for diseases and stuff like that. So they do it with a dart gun, and they have a dart gun that has what's called DNA darts. And what they do is they hit the animal, draw blood, and fall off.
Ah, what a cool tool.
I have one. I have a dart gun. I have the darts. My plan is and I also have a GoPro mounted to my rifle. So if I ever get close enough to one, now, like I said, I've been doing this for 20 years, and I've seen one in the mountains. One in 20 years. One. So in the next 20 years, I might get my shot. But there's other techniques that I have that I probably don't want to divulge in the public, but that I want to do but I think photo documentation of collecting DNA is the only way we can go, short of finding a dead body or digging one up somewhere. And like I said, I'm an archaeologist, and I'm not opposed to trying to figure out how, or it's a tough one. We'd have to dig up a whole forest, but to find that. But you know, but if you think you can find, you know, tree structures, what if they're gravestones? There's a thought.
I've thought about that. I've thought about some of the rock formations they do, and I'm like, huh, are they eating stuff or are they burying stuff?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what if they're gravestones? And nobody's ever dug around to find out.
I think, you know, it's important for our followers to know that, you know, we think that all the evidence collected so far indicates that Bigfoot is a sentient, intelligent creature, and we respect that.
Mm-hmm.
And our purpose for, you know, we get a lot of people, well, you know, we believe that it exists and all this, and we just want to let him be, but, you know, from a conservation, I'm very much a conservationist, and so, you know, from a conservation perspective, we cannot protect these creatures if we can't document that they exist. You know, we've got to establish this. You know, people are so concerned about, well, we can't disturb them, we need to leave them alone, but, you know, we've got to prove they exist so that we can do just that.
Yeah.
So at least that's my thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I completely agree. I always go armed into the forest just because I come from a hunting family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, there's other things out there that will kill you.
Yes, we have wolves and bears over here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And cougars.
Cougars.
Cougars and bears over here. So.
Yeah, and sometimes unruly other campers.
They make me more nervous than the animals.
Yeah, they do. Yes, they do. Yeah. Yeah, there's I did a blog, I don't know, it was a month ago. I might link that to this if anybody wants to read it. But about how I get a lot of people calling me and telling me, you know, you shouldn't be out there in the woods looking for this because either they're aliens or they're
from another dimension, transdimensional,
or they're Nephilim from the Bible, and
I've heard that one.
yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to say that they're not those, but I'm going to say until we prove what one really is, it's kind of hard trying to explain a legend with a myth. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
Until we actually have definitive proof what this thing really is, I think it just muddies the water when people are trying to explain it off as all these other things. I'm on the kind of the set where I'm like, I want to prove what it is first. I want to prove it's real first. That we have actual things sitting here, and it's not just all hoaxes, which it can possibly be.
That there is a currently unidentified North American hominid.
Yeah.
Yeah, you start with that it is, and then you figure out what it is.
Yeah. Yes.
It's interesting. It's such a violation of. It's such a violation of Occam's razor, you know, to go down the least traveled path, because Occam's razor says you take the most relevant piece of data and you go, it is this. It is what it is. It's this, it's this, it's this.
And then if it's none of those things, then you go to the next.
That's right.
By the way, I have a prediction that when we get off this live stream, we're going to go upstairs and find the toilet paper all over the house, because Gloria, the destroyer of worlds, is also a fan of destroying toilet paper.
And I just heard her upstairs.
And that usually means that we're not paying enough attention to her, and she's going to go eat the toilet paper. Just so. We'll let you know if we have any more toilet paper when we're
Okay, John says he thinks we're going to see one in the next couple of years.
I agree. I absolutely agree.
Yeah. I got to spend more time in the woods. Yeah.
Yeah, when you've got the Travel Channel and the money behind the Travel Channel sending Josh Gates out, if you get enough of people with the money for the technology
Mm-hmm.
to go to the remote locations, your chances increase.
Yeah.
And if you've got enough people, like amateur people applying scientific method in the field, the chances increase.
Exactly. Yeah. They really do. I try to spend at least 100 days a year in the woods, or more if I can. Um, I go out every weekend. I've got my own private squatching spot here, which is not very far from our house, so I can go out on weekends and spend the day, or a weekend every chance I get. And luckily, since we work for our school district here, our school only has a 4-day school week, so we get 3-day weekends quite often, like almost
Wow.
every weekend.
Oh,
So-
well, that's the theory.
Yeah, that's the theory anyway.
Some
Except
of
for
us,
teacher work days, yeah, on Fridays. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
I also try to get as close to half a year as possible out in the wilderness because I love it. It feels like my backyard. We're either scouting for hunting season, preparing for hunting season, and it's just really nice to be out there and just be doing something.
Yes.
So it's easy to hear the howls or see the footprints.
Mhm.
yeah,
They're
I know.
all around the Timothy Lake region in Oregon. I've heard so many howls. I'm like, wow, they must just live there.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. Well, not funny, but I do love being outside. I've never considered myself much of an outdoor athlete or anything like that. But we spent so much time out in the woods this summer that I discovered that, wow, you know what? This is the best place to be. Outside of cell phone service, outside of people, outside of traffic, and where all you have is the creek behind you and I thought, I just kind of want to live here for the rest of my life.
That's cool.
And that's kind of what we're working on. We're trying to get to that point.
Yeah. We did a video a while back, but we have a battle plan, and it's our 7-year plan. We're just getting down to 6 years now. But
Yeah.
so I'll hit the retirement age in 6 years, so I can start claiming my Social Security. I'm going to retire early. So, but our plan is to sell everything in 6 years, get all our bills paid off, hopefully before then, and then buy a camper, and that's what we're going to live in. And we're just going
gonna travel
to
around.
travel and boondock.
You're gonna be like the first ever what did I call it? The mobile Bigfoot response unit.
Yes.
I would quit my job and come with you.
Yeah, do it.
We can caravan.
Yeah.
And I won't be retirement age, but hopefully I can get some decent work online because I'll just put this out there. I've got 3 master's degrees, so someone can hire me to do something.
Online. Yeah.
That's a lot. 3? A lot of study. You are, wow. That's
That's another story for another time. But I certainly did not go into my adult life going, I'm going to be a professional student and have 3 master's degrees. That was not my battle plan at all.
But that was the actual what happened.
That's when life happens.
Yeah. So, she's got a master's in social work, master's in teaching,
And teaching.
and then a master's in music.
My
What is
master's,
it?
I'm halfway through my master's in music education.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Has absolutely nothing to do. Well, social work is sort of tied to anthropology, which is sort of tied to archaeology.
Yeah.
So, but
It's all connected.
But
Yeah.
I thought, see, when we're on the road, because I am a professional musician, I thought, we've got to get a viral following to kind of help support us on the road. And so my idea was I'm going to learn to play the accordion and write songs and document our journeys in song with the accordion.
Oh my
It's just quirky
so
enough to work.
That's funny.
And I have an accordion too. I don't know how to play it yet. Yeah. Maybe I'll learn this summer.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, we're camping a whole bunch.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Scare all the squatches away with that.
or
I don't know. They might come in.
they might come in.
Well,
You never know. So,
It's interesting because the big event that I had that lasted 3 days, we were shooting guns and we were up till 1 in the morning. We were talking on our satellite phones. We were just making all sorts of noise, and they came in. And then there's been times when we've tried to be really quiet and get them to come in, and they don't come.
Well, that's because quiet is boring.
Yeah, so
And
I think
I've heard they're really interested in human activity, especially the young ones.
yeah, I went on one of those. Gosh, what do you call it? Gosh, what do you call it? It's like a. I think John called it an adventure earlier. Somebody did, but I went on one of those trips, and I took my daughter. She was 7. And so we walked the mountain roads from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. singing Christmas songs, just doing things that aren't normally done. We had the big parabolic sound dishes and the night vision. And it was pretty cool because they called something in, 2 of them actually. That was a neat trip.
Yeah.
That was up in Washington.
Yeah, I think they're going to come for my cooking.
Well, they're already in you too.
I am the best camp cook ever.
Oh, yeah, she is. That's one thing I do enjoy when I take her with me when we're camping is the food.
Yeah.
There's no MREs.
See, at home, I'm lazy. Well, I'm so busy. I work 60 hours a week, so I don't have time to cook. But when I'm out there, it's like, we are the gourmet.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't go camping with you guys. I'll just bring a bunch of food and hand it to you.
Yeah, there you go.
I love it.
What was our favorite last year?
It was
bacon wrapped jalapeno.
Oh, I did last year. I did bacon wrapped jalapeno poppers.
While you were camping?
Yes. I know. And then, standard is grilled ribeye and I call it grilled ribeye and squash medley and.
Wow.
And because oh wow, look at this. Eastern Oregon Sasquatch is going to be spending the whole month of July up in Catherine Creek.
Oh.
Hey, we love Catherine Creek. That's one of our favorite places to go.
Yeah.
I'm ready to go down.
Yeah.
I just saw that. Yeah, Catherine
Come
Creek.
cook for them.
Yeah, Catherine Creek. I lived there when I was a kid.
It is so beautiful. They've got huckleberries all over the place too.
Yeah, but it'll be early.
Yeah, okay.
Not in July.
Yeah.
But,
Right. Anyway, no, please come camping with us. Oh, okay. And honestly, that is out there. I'm also a certified barista.
yeah, she is. She used to work for Starbucks.
yeah.
We're
And that's like
all night chasing things with her coffee and her food.
yeah.
It's like an open invitation if anyone wants to meet up. In fact, last summer we had a little meetup in the Hood River area, and someone came down from Tri-Cities, Washington. And that's the invitation. I will feed you and serve you lattes. And so I thought we'd go around the country. I could be the Bigfoot barista.
Oh my gosh, that's so cute. You could.
And it's so fun. I tell you what, being a barista is so much fun. I think I miss my calling. But that's all right. I could have been a brilliant coffee shop owner. So.
Let's see, you guys is spending the whole month of July in Catherine Creek.
I just saw that.
I know, area.
So, anyway.
A whole month?
Yeah, I just said.
He's going to spend a whole month
of July.
Oh, I wish I could.
Well, we're hoping. As much time in
July.
And that's the perfect area. That's an hour away. So, easy peasy.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's kind of funny. Where I grew up was in Somerville, Oregon. My dad, we had a hog farm. I grew up on a hog farm, which was, Somerville's a city of about 110 people, but we lived 5 miles out of town, so I didn't have to put up with all the traffic. But, like all 6 people in their cars. But where we lived was in the mountains, in the Blue Mountains. In fact, it was within, I would say probably as a crow flies, 50 miles from where Paul Freeman had the Freeman film. And we were 50 miles from there. And where I lived was literally our farm was in the tree line to the hills. And I would, after school, I had a motorcycle, and I would just head into the mountains, and I would stay there. Like on Friday, get home from school, go to the mountains, come back Sunday, get ready to go to school on Monday. My parents wouldn't even know where I was at. They were kind of hippies, I guess. But anyway, they were.
That was the 70s, honey. No one knew where their kids were.
Yeah.
We were running the streets, drinking out of irrigation canals.
Yeah, exactly.
Come on, eating. I told the kids at school the other day, in the 70s, man, we were eating nothing but like boxed macaroni and cheese and a host of snack cakes all day long while they worked. So, fun times.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Blue Mountains.
So where this guy's talking is right in the same area. John Paul, there's going to be.
Heard there's going to be an event at Target Meadows by Jubilee Lake.
Okay, Paul said, yeah.
We
were planning one last year. Yeah, I want to shoot and have a meetup there at Target Meadows. I gotta find some time when there's not a lot of people up there. Which.
Yeah, it's a pretty well populated campground, actually.
Yeah, Chris, do you know where Jubilee Lake is?
I don't. I'm actually writing these down to look them up.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a great lake.
You know where Tollgate, Oregon is?
I do.
Okay. Jubilee Lake's just kind of north of there. It's a great Jubilee Lake has. We spent a couple of years camping there over when was it Labor Day weekends. We just go up for fun and
tool around on our boat.
So that would be east of Tollgate, and would it be north or south?
Jubilee Lake's north of Tollgate.
North of Tollgate.
Yeah.
And would you access it by going up to Welch's and turning on like Lolo Pass?
No. I'm trying to think where you were talking. No, Jubilee Lake is you go to. You know where the Tollgate store is?
Yes.
Okay. If you go past, like if you're going east, past the Tollgate store, about 3 or 4 miles, there's a.
There's a turnoff.
Yeah.
14
John just said
miles.
there's 14 miles. So if you go past the Tollgate store, you'll come to a little lake that has a bunch of private cabins around it. And you turn left, and then you go north from there. And there's a road, it's paved actually, that goes about halfway up to the lake, and then it'll turn to gravel. And like
Langdon Lake.
Langdon Lake. John Center.
You are just full of information.
So, anyway.
I don't know all these lakes. But Jubilee's gorgeous.
Yeah.
That's spooky camping.
Yeah, it is.
I love it.
They don't have hookups, but they have water and
really nice outhouses.
And the pit toilets. But it has a boat dock, and you can fish. There's no motorboats allowed. It's just rowboats only, or
cool.
electric.
Yeah, we got a little. What is it? Trolling motor?
Yeah, we got a 6-man raft with inflatable raft with a trolling motor on it, and I actually. When you're...
We're not putting 6 people in there.
No. One year I built this camo cover to put over it with PVC pipe and camo netting, and we're going to set out the lake all night and watch the shore of the lake with cameras while we're on the lake to see if we got Bigfoot come in, and that didn't work.
It got cold.
She got cold. But anyway... but we would go up and we'd set up trail cameras and apples and do the baiting thing up there every year. Now, I actually found, not far from there, I won't say the exact location, but I found a footprint in that very area near Jubilee Lake. And then one night, my other squatching partner, Pete Nelson, I got to give a shout out to Pete. He's not with us tonight, but I had some of his family got in a car wreck. Actually, it was bad. His brother, but anyway,
I should make them a casserole.
You should. Anyway, Pete and I went out one night, and we saw some eye shine, which was 8 feet up a tree with no limbs on it. So it wasn't an owl sitting on a limb 8 foot up because there was no limbs, but we saw it next to a tree. Pete actually saw it, got some eye shine with the light, and I had to climb down this canyon and back up the other canyon to get to the tree where he would, while he was stayed where we were at, and we carry. Actually, we have lasers that go on pistols, like the, the sight lasers. We have those mounted on our flashlights, so we can turn the flashlight off and use the laser as a pointer. So he held his laser on the tree where he saw the eye shine while I climbed down the mountain and back up, so I could get to the exact spot where it was at. And I measured up the tree, it was 8 feet where we saw the eye shine, and there was no limbs on the pine tree.
Wow.
So, and then later that evening, we went up. We were in the same area. We built a little campfire, ate our dinner, and then Pete walked off into the woods to do some business, and something threw a rock at him.
Wow.
So yeah, and then we found footprints that day too. But yeah, this area it's ripe. I mean, it's very squatchy.
And the theory is this is their migratory pattern comes right through this part of Blue Mountains.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Well, hey, thanks for stopping by, John Paul.
Okay.
We're looking forward to the next live stream too.
Yeah.
I don't know when it's going to be. When's it going to be?
I don't know. We should do this quite often. And I can get better at it, so we actually go on time at the right channel.
Those of you who are watching, we're so glad you came by, because the original endeavor was a bust.
Yeah, it took me 20 minutes to figure out how to get it to start. But
anyway, we'll get better.
We'll get better. Yeah, so I'm planning on going out this weekend. I've been shooting some videos that I've been putting up on my channel about just outdoor life, kind of, helping people to learn about
how not to die out
there. So, yeah. Before I went to school for anthropology, a little history on me, I was in the military, in the Army. I did 2 tours in Iraq. And I went through the U.S. Army's survival training twice.
Cool.
So,
because you failed the first
time?
No,
not because I failed the first time.
That sounds terrible. I went through school twice.
Well, I went through the outdoor survival class, and then I went through the POW survival class. They have a class where they actually, put you in a POW camp, and you have to try to escape and all this stuff. Not a real one, but, a school. And you have to escape and then survive without getting caught for a week in the woods. So,
wow.
And then plus just me living in the woods when I was a kid. I literally, when I said I'd take my motorcycle, go in the woods, it was literally me, my motorcycle, and a blanket and a knife. And it was a weekend, and I just lived off the land and came back. So I know all the plants and stuff you can eat and all that. So I thought I'd share that with squatchers out there, because I don't want anybody to die in the woods.
You would live off the plants for a weekend?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that is so funny. So let me tell you, this is just how my outdoor living experience was. I said, I lived at summer camp in the summer, and that was great. One summer, I think I was 13 or 14, we had this activity where we had to learn to identify the edible plants. And this just kind of shows what a dichotomy this relationship is. So we went out and we went hiking out like a mile away from the main camp, and we all came back with, like dandelion leaves and this and that, all these edibles. And then they passed out packets of salad dressing. I mean, so, and it was still disgusting.
Dandelion has a very distinct flavor. You either love it or hate it.
Yeah, it does.
It just was like, so yeah, well, I like to be out there, but I like to be armed with my grill and my steak and my jalapenos, and I don't think I could live off the land. I'm the first one going down in the zombie apocalypse. It's true.
No. Yeah, like I said, when we camp with her, she cooks, which is good. When I go by myself, it's usually MREs. You know, that's what I use. Either MRAs or the camp meals. I just recently, this week actually, been doing some research online, and I have dehydrated a bunch of stuff this week.
We have an empty refrigerator now.
Yeah, I dehydrated everything in our fridge.
Where's our food? Where are my groceries? Why don't you just add water, honey?
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
So I start making my own camp meals, basically. Those dehydrated camp meals.
2 pounds of ground beef dehydrates to like this much.
Yeah.
It's insane. Hello. Here she is again, bombing the video.
Yeah.
Hello, puppy.
So.
Anyway, we have been on for an hour now.
We have.
Yes, we have.
Wow.
So
Like
we
it.
had better tell our 5 followers.
5 followers. Thank you.
Thank you for coming by,
Yeah.
and we will do this again, and it will
Thank
be
you.
better.
Uh-huh.
If you haven't liked this YouTube channel, please like and subscribe and do all the things that you do for YouTubers.
Yeah.
And then Hank will cook for you.
Yes, and make sure you visit Blue Mountain Bigfoot Research and subscribe to his email list because there's some really exciting stuff that he's got in the works for his for people on that email list. And
Yeah,
if
a
you
little
want,
heads up. I'm actually planning on my YouTube channel. I'm doing some survival outdoor stuff, but what I'm planning on doing on my blog and on my email for the email list and the serious people is I am actually putting together right now a course on the scientific method and evidence gathering.
And how to go out there step by step and gather Bigfoot evidence that is quantifiable and documented.
And documented properly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So keep your eyes open for that. And if you want a good laugh, go to my blog site, which is squatchinwithhannah.com. I never know what's going up on there. My life is much more than squatching.
Yeah.
Although, I don't know, squatching or dealing with hundreds of teenagers a day, I don't know. Or serving coffee.
I'll take the squatch any day.
I'll take the coffee.
Yeah. So, yeah, I actually spend some time with those teenagers too, in case a lot of people don't know this.
This is our high school drama director.
I'm the high school drama director here. That was my first college degree, was theater. So
it's one of those absolutely
unusable things.
They don't tell you about all the degrees that are unusable.
Yes. Like,
isn't that the truth?
And Uncle Sam is profiting hand over fist because of it.
Yeah. So, yeah, because, theater, what do you do with that? Actually, anthropology, what do you do with that?
So,
yes, I can tell you the names of all our ancient ancestors and how they developed. So, but no, I have a actually, before we go, I have a theory that possibly Bigfoot is not a primate, or not an ape, like a gorilla type primate. I think he's a primate more like us. I think it could possibly be a hominid like us.
Another offshoot of
like
the original.
Because Homo heidelbergensis, I'll go through the list. Homo Neanderthal, Homo nadali, Homo floresiensis.
Don't look at me for that.
Well, and there's one more.
Anyway,
all those all existed at the same time with us. Homo sapien, that's the 5th one. That's us. So, a lot of people don't know that it wasn't an evolution from one thing to the other. It was interbreeding. And there's a possibility. Well, we already know because of DNA that if you're Eastern European, you're 5% Neanderthal. Sorry, you're a caveman. So, I've got a possible theory that it's not an ape.
Another offshoot or another interbred phenomenon.
But like I said, it's a theory. I'm not going to say it's fact. Yeah. I'm not going to say.
But anyway, you can keep up with all of this, by subscribing to the channel, by going to our blogs, and we'd love to have you as part of our journey here.
Yep. and we're working on getting some reports done from Christy, so we can get Bigfoot reports up on the website too, so you can follow what we're seeing. So
thanks for stopping
the
by.
last couple have been very what's the word, anonymous.
Yes, very anonymous. Yeah.
A couple of them didn't even respond when I reached out. So.
But anyway, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Right.
Yes. Goodbye, everybody.
All right, and keep it squatchy.
Yes. Stay on, Christy.
I will.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
Bye.